I went away for my holiday and then I got sick. So I apologize for the lack of content. I am, however, super keen to give the value back for you guys and compensate for the lack of content. Therefore, I asked you guys who are on my mailing list to submit your tracks for the review. And so you did. I have answered to every submission individually, but in this video here, I would like to look into the common challenges that arise for you who record, produce or mix heavy music at home, and how you can find the best ways around this. So the first main challenge, and this is the 80-20, the core challenge that I see for you producing music at home, is harshness. Most of the songs that I have heard have some kind of harsh frequencies. We're going to look into how you can tame the harshness precisely and which instruments to look into and how. Hey, I'm Dr. Mike Trubetskov, and I'm here to bring valuable information on recording, producing and mixing metal. So mate, please like and subscribe to not miss out on valuable stuff. I'm also offering individual and group coaching sessions where we open up your project, like I did here in this video, and go through your exact challenges, and this session is tailored to your particular questions. Link to express your interest in coaching is in description. And if you want to be on the mailing list to access the exclusive offers like mix reviews, free content or templates, and anything I come up with, link is also in the description. Let's go. Let me briefly show you a couple of fragments where this harshness issue is really prominent. In this example here by Marcos, absolutely outstanding, incredible songwriting, fantastic vocals, fantastic chord progressions. Take a listen. I'm really loving this song and check it out, it's really great. But in the mix, I can hear quite a bit of harshness in the drums, in the kick, in the cymbals and in the guitars. And all together, this makes a bit of a present trebly mix, which may be fatiguing to the modern kind of environment we listen to music to. Here's a submission by Brent. It's a really cool industrial kind of metal project with great riffs as well. And in this instance, I find drum cymbals to be really harsh and jumping out of balance as well. And that obviously creates an issue for the listener. And finally, in this one here, I guess now you can hear a pattern. And let's take a step back here. Let's discuss why are we all struggling with harshness? Because I believe that this is a huge topic that isn't widely discussed. So in my experience, when you have a guitar recording, naturally the guitar cab and a combination of an SM57 and your guitar cab can provide really harsh piercing frequencies, resonating frequencies. And one of the core foundations for mixing is identifying these frequencies and notching them down. It's a careful balance, however, and I find it challenging to not overdo it and retain some natural and nice top end. One of my assumptions here is that if you do not have a great listening environment, what happens is you're trying to get rid of the rumbling frequencies by amplifying the treble, the upper, higher frequencies. But if you do not do this very carefully, you end up in this harsh territory. And additionally so, if you do not treat those frequencies at the very beginning of the mix, and if you amplify elements with compression, limiting, saturation, and such, all of these frequencies jump in exponential manner. Let's now look into the session where we can tame this harshness down. And thanks to Brent, who was so kind to send these stems for the session so that we can look precisely what can be done to minimize this issue and how. Let's do it. Let's focus on this fragment here. The song is by the band called Dark Conspiracy. Brent is the musician who sent it to me. Really grateful for the access to the stems. Now let's listen to this fragment here before any processing. This kind of processing is a little bit exaggerated and a little bit dull in comparison, at least. Yet, I believe that this is the right area to look into in order to treat this harshness. So, let's start with the guitar and let's look into the processing that you can apply in order to clean this harshness up. This is after, this is before. The areas that are normally harsh for the guitars are the areas between 2 and 5K. These here, you can apply broad cuts with bell shape of an EQ. And tame this down so that this is more balanced within the rest of the guitar. Another important frequency, as most of you actually know, is 4K. Here, you can apply a complete notch out if you want to chase the modern tone, or you can just use a narrow Q for a more natural correction. You can see that this shape helps to put the guitar into a more balanced state. If we look into the drums now, this is after. This is before. For drums, harshness emerges most of the time from the cymbals, and that area also lives in two different spectrum ranges. I try to isolate the cymbals by using the side EQ, and most of the harsh region lies within 10K in this case here. Two resonating frequencies which sound piercing and whistly, and they all sit within 9 and 10 within that area here. My assumption is that if you use really cheap monitoring, that can lead to your top end not being detailed enough. And if you do not refer to other mixes when mixing, and if you do not use a different environment like headphones or earbuds outside of your studio, then these issues may emerge. Additionally though, cymbals do contain a harsh area in 2 to 4K as well. This here. As I mentioned before, for sure, this does not give the very balanced mix, but I cannot access the fader for the overheads because I would recommend dropping them down maybe 2 to 3 decibels in this case. And if one cleans up this area here, I believe that the results would be more manageable. The other important consideration was overcompression and the artifacts on the mix bus, particularly when two issues, harshness and overcompression, are combined together. Overcompression amplifies the harshness, and therefore you end up with more distortion, and the mix and the production sounds fatiguing to your listener, which you really do want to avoid if you want your music to be heard on repeat. If you want to process your mix heavier, if you want to use really strong parallel compression or serial compression even, you may consider something like a dynamic spectral equalizer or Soothe. I'm using this DS EQ here. This is the area we're looking at to tame down. Basically suppresses resonating frequencies within that range very, very successfully and transparently as well. Let's look into the concept of compressing your mix heavily. Once you clean up your harsh regions, this becomes much easier. Let's use the SSL bus compressor here. This is with. Without. Sounds significantly stronger. I can still hear quite a bit of harshness in the drums, but let's see what happens if we bypass this processing. Without the compressor. I can immediately hear the pumping artifacts that emerge from that upper frequency range because that is amplified and pushed together by this compressor. So taming this harsh area is incredibly important to get the right tone if you wish for a super compressed modern tone. And another very important aspect is using the sidechain high-pass filter, because we're using fast attack and fast release for this compressor, 4:1 ratio. Look what happens if we do not engage the high-pass filter. The exact same problem that you can hear if we listen to the overcompressed mixes. Like this one here. You can hear pumping, you can hear low end rumble and a bit of a mud amplified. Right? If we do engage our sidechain high-pass filter, however, put it up to maybe 200 Hz, the low end immediately becomes more transparent because it is unaffected by the detector for this compressor. The detection reacts to upper frequencies only, which makes this compressor mainly glue together the mix and focus on your snare as the main driver of the compression. And the final issue that I want to touch upon, which was minor, but I believe that could be really important to some of you, is latency when tracking. Let's take a look. Listening to the submission by Scott. I find this style of heavy music really fun with the old school Fender style cleans on top of chuggy riffs. However, what I'm hearing is that the guitars are out of time quite a bit. When I talked to Scott about this, we figured out that my assumption was correct, and the assumption was that the latency in Scott's DAW is not set out correctly, and therefore when he plays there is a delay between his chugs and the actual monitoring. When that happens, it is virtually impossible to perform properly and on time. When this is the case, you have to look into the buffer size for your DAW, setting it out to the lowest possible value when recording. That could be 32 or 64. If you haven't done that, you would experience latency and it affects your performance ability and it feels like you're not a great guitarist. Whereas, in reality, it's just the wrong setting that is throwing you off. I would like to conclude this video by saying thanks to everyone who sent their music for me to review. I had a blast listening to the submissions, and I'm very grateful that we can summarize these challenges in this kind of form. And I truly hope that this helps to any of you who struggle with the same issue. I'm Dr. Trubetskov. I'm here to help. If you want individual consultation in the same kind of manner, hit me up for coaching, link in description. And otherwise, until next time, take care.